We look live at the White House to begin this hour. Winning the White House is hard enough, but now Joe Biden is about to do something that may be even more difficult, the transition to the presidency. Biden's team is now ramping up one of the most difficult political processes anywhere, essentially remaking the top levels of the U.S. government over the next few months, having to prepare for their earliest and likely biggest challenge, the pandemic, and likely facing a transition that is contentious and potentially filled with new turmoil because of the current president, Donald Trump. As we begin in Washington with Ellen Morrow once again, what do we watch for today, Ellen? Because everyone should know that Joe Biden is going to begin some of the public phase of that transition of power.
That's right, and it's going to be all about the pandemic today for Joe Biden, Heather. He made it clear during the campaign that responding to the pandemic was going to be job number one for his administration. And the pandemic has worsened over the last few weeks in the United States. The country is now averaging more than 100,000 new cases every single day, and nearly 240,000, a staggering number, Americans have died of COVID-19. So the Biden administration will certainly have its work cut out for it. We're learning today who is going to be on Joe Biden's coronavirus advisory board. He's named the three co-chairs already. It includes a former Surgeon General, a former commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, and a professor from Yale University. Other members on the advisory board include a man named Rick Bright. He was a federal vaccine expert who was essentially a whistleblower on the Trump administration, who said that early warnings about the pandemic were ignored. There is some information about the Biden plan on the Biden-Harris transition website that showed up late last week. They're going to focus, they say, on providing free and reliable testing across the country and implementing mask mandates where possible. So all of this, Heather, is a stark contrast to what we were hearing from the Trump administration over the last few weeks and months. Donald Trump repeatedly downplaying the pandemic, mocking people for wearing masks, and saying the United States was turning the corner even as case counts were growing. Now, it's a good thing the Biden team is working on this plan, because experts have warned the U.S. is in for a difficult winter. So by the time Joe Biden takes office in January, the pandemic here is likely to be worse. Now, they're working on this plan and working on other transition plans without receiving resources from the Trump administration. Normally, what happens is the incumbent administration will sign over transition resources to the incoming team. So that means money, it means government offices, it means use of government equipment. In an unprecedented but perhaps not surprising move, the Trump administration is so far refusing to do that, Heather.
Well, let's talk about the Trump side of things. He spent the weekend golfing. Of course, we saw Ellen, and he is making it clear he is not ready to concede. His campaign, in fact, promising new legal fights that we could learn about as early as today. So, what do we watch for?
Well, Donald Trump, Heather, as you say, is continuing to push these baseless allegations that somehow the election was rigged, that there was widespread voter fraud, and there just hasn't been proof to back that up. But they are not backing down. As you said, they're promising more legal action, which, of course, is their right to do so. But to what end is unclear. There's also reporting that they're planning rallies in places like Arizona that haven't yet been formally called. But again, there just isn't evidence to back up what the Trump administration is saying. If they have it, they haven't shared it. Still, prominent Republicans, people like Senator Lindsey Graham, are backing Donald Trump. Here's what Graham said over the weekend.
This is a contested election. The media doesn't decide who becomes president. If they did, you would never have a Republican president forever. So we're discounting them. If Republicans don't challenge and change the U.S. election system, there'll never be another Republican president elected again. President Trump should not concede.
Now, there's some problems with what Lindsey Graham said there, Heather. Of course, the media doesn't decide who the next president is, but the media looks at the polling data, the vote count data, and makes projections. That's just how it works. The media called the election for Donald Trump in 2016. There were no complaints about that at that point in time. At that time, Donald Trump said his victory was a landslide, even though he lost by 3 million votes in the popular vote total. Joe Biden is currently up 5 million votes in the the popular vote total. So given that backdrop, this does seem like perhaps, a futile fight, but it's one the Trump administration is not backing down from.
Ellen, thank you so much. Starting there with Ellen Morrow in Washington.